Okay, people. So it's still September 8th. I'm just, I don't know, cleaning shit, right? I'm in my, this is not very bright. Hold on a minute. This one might be better. Yeah, kind of. Anyway, I'm in here, right? Do you see? This is food. Oh my God, it's so hard to see. Food storage. There's apple juice, probably from last year. So what I'm going to do now, look, I know I said I was going to what do you call it? You know, tally everything up in terms of what I canned over the last couple of months, anyway, right? Whenever I started for this season, whoa. Whatever it was I started for this season, you know, in terms of taking it to a grocery store and then tallying it up from 2019, right? In terms of how much it would cost if you were to buy this stuff, in terms of how much would it would cost to buy a quart or a liter size jar of organic apple juice. I don't even know if they sell organic apple juice. And if they're selling it in a grocery store, people, it's been irradiated. Okay? So anyway, I don't have time for that because I'm just so swamped with things, right? But what I'm doing right now, if you see, this is the way I pack things. This is my kitchen cupboard, right? So I'm gonna pull out these jars from the back. Oh my God, sorry. I'm gonna pull out these jars from the back, right? And I'm gonna take what's on my table anyway, because some of them already went downstairs, in terms of 2019 apple juice, and I'm gonna switch them around and bring the 18s closer, right? Or at least get some of them in here. That's what I'm doing. Hold on. And then what I do is I take the newer, what do you call it, tunas and that kind of stuff when I buy, and I put it further to the back, and the other one's closer, right? So right now I'm just switching juices around. Okay. So basically what I'm doing here is pretty much from this one here. Now mind you, there's pickles. Hold on. We'll just take it from here. I think there's a run of 4. 4 or 5. 1, 2. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. 4. What am I doing? 4. What's the here on these ones? They should be up front, right? The ones for 2020 are in the back. These ones are 2014. So, anyway, 4, 5. All right. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Oh, God. 25, another 4 more in there is 30. Here's some more. Right. So do you see? This is how I do it. For these cupboards anyway. I have other places with juice in it, right? But these ones are the 18s. The 19s are in the back, and there's a big box downstairs of 19. So, hold on. Okay, so basically 35 jars of juice in there that I could count. On this corner over in here are pickles. I've got pickles over in the other cupboard as well. Right, and then I've got a few pickles somewhere else as well. I don't have to make pickles until maybe next year. So anyway, as you can see, right? Okay, people. So now we're on, I don't know how much battery space I have on this. But anyway, only 40 minutes left on this little flash drive thing. But besides that point, so what I'm trying to say is, it is, what is it? September 9th, 2018. It's the next day. Moving along. Right? Just generic stuff. It's so dark in here. Okay. Raisins. 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 Okay, so this is what I want to show you. Support the companies that still produce glass. Glass is the best to preserve things in. Or to transfer things from something that you bought in plastic, you can put it into glass. This is, remember I told you pasta sauce or tomato sauce or something? Right, can I turn on the light? There we go. See this? These are very good jars. Very good jars. But in this case, I am just storing raisins in them. Right? And then, because I bought a little vacuum seal thing where I should be able to, I don't know, vacuum seal stuff in a jar, I'm going to try that after my jars are full with raisins. And then, right, so far we've got three jars and a bit. And then I've got some in the bowl over there. And a few more. So anyway, I'm going to fill these up and we're going to see how many jars of raisins that we got from what I was doing. I am not canning potatoes for a long time. Right? For what it's worth, I can store them somewhere around the house. Right? Because, now this isn't a bad thing. It's just, this is what can happen if you don't, there's 3 reasons for it. Either you're using a potato that's too starchy, and then of course it leaches starch into the liquid and absorbs, or at some point you broke the pressure in the pressure canner. There was too much fluctuation in terms of when you were pressure canning it. So that could be one reason. The other reason is you use the water that you blanched your potatoes in to fill up your jars, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to use fresh water with no starch in it after you've taken your potatoes out of the water that you blanched and then put into the jar. So you blanch, you put your potatoes into the jar, then you go to the other pot with your boiled water, and then that's how you fill up your jars. In this case, I think I know what happened. 2 things. The potatoes I used, well, and there's also a 4th reason. You didn't give your brand new potatoes that you dug up out of the ground enough time to cure. And I've already mentioned in my past video about this, that that's probably what I did, because I've got potatoes that I was going to can, but I'm letting them sit for a couple of weeks to cure, right? I mean, I still might do a couple of jars just to try, just to see if we get a different result. But when I was turning off the canner, when I was turning off the camera, that's the light. When I was turning off the canner, and what happened was you know the gauge that you read? Wait. It was at 0, but the little gauge, hold on. The little gauge, see how dusty my house is? Do you see the dust? Like, it's pathetic, this house. You see that dust? It's terrible. Anyway, it was reading at 0, so I pulled off this thing, not realizing that this thing was down. It was up, I'm sorry. It was up. So that when I pulled off this thing, even though this thing was at 0, the pressure was still in there. It was too soon to take off that part. So it just kind of boom, and then it just started fizzing. So that could be another reason why it's doing this. So these ones are not going into long-term storage. I'm going to start using these up pretty soon. I probably should try another batch now that I'm more aware, because I do like the idea of having canned potatoes on hand. And if it doesn't work, then I've decided I'm going to go with the path of least resistance. I've decided that at some point in the future, I'm just going to go off and buy a whole bunch of canned potatoes as is from the grocery store and store them that way and not stress myself out. I don't want a lot of canned potatoes, but I do want some. I just don't want them doing this to the extreme, and this seems to be going to the extreme. It's okay, right? When it came out, you've seen what it looked like, right? It was perfectly fine. It's just the potatoes I used were right out of the ground, right? Some of them probably have a high starch content, right? And I disrupted the pressure by pulling off that thing too soon. I should have pulled off that thing when this thing dropped, even though that was reading at 0. I'm pretty sure I used clean water from a separate pot without no starch in it to fill up the potatoes. But, okay, hold on. Okay, so now I'm over here. I'm going to show you the raisins. I'm putting them into these lovely jars that I paid for at some point, or I found. These are the raisins. Okay? Again, these ones are good like a mason jar. Right? But in this case, I'm just storing raisins in them, and then I'm going to vacuum seal it, and I'm putting them in downstairs in Auntie Shimei's room for storage. And then as I need them, I'm going to bring them out a jar at a time. But I already have raisins upstairs that are sitting in containers, so that's why I'm putting these ones into long-term storage, because before I use these ones, I would like to, what do you call it? Use up my old ones first. Right? So, you just go like this. Well, I didn't need that many jars. Next year, I will be more prepared, because now I know what I have. Now I know what I'm working with. 2 different kinds of grapes that come in at 2 different times of the year and are used for different purposes, right? Like, you can't use those, what do you call those things? The grapes with the seeds to make raisins. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I don't want to, right? So, you see what I'm doing here? Okay, and then once you vacuum seal it, or just even seal it the best you can and put it into long-term storage, what's going to happen is the food is going to shrink in the jar and settle, right? So initially, when you get it in there, you just want to, you know, get in there as much as you can, but don't overpack, right?
You have to watch the video long enough in order for it to count against our ranking before you decide. However,
the only thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the rest of the rhubarb today. That's pretty simple and easy. So I can put that canner away, right? And then I'm going to, see, I'm going to can those today. That came from my yard. And then I'm going to,
So you unfriended me to make a statement, but you still can't get enough of me.
I should really try doing potatoes again before I put my pressure canner away, which
I just like the fact that
I have potatoes that have been curing now for a little while, so maybe I'll do that. And then after that, I'm putting everything away, and I'll get into the meats and the beans and whatever I'm going to do in a month or two. I'll do that over the winter, right?
you like this brown skin.
Because I'm going to start moving things around.
But you can't.
So basically,
You hoes need just for me.
hold on a minute.
Not me.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is, if you're uncomfortable canning in these jars because you bought them like this,
But stop lying. She's not a,
all right,
and I'm gonna go ahead and keep
what I'm doing is I'm taking, remember when I did blackberry juice? I dehydrated the pulp. This is what you're looking at.
should have been cute.
Okay, go online, look up blackberry seeds, and see how expensive it is to buy this.
Because she was a homebrew.
And because I already have some of this in the house that I technically don't use, and I should, I'm going to put these ones into long-term storage after I vacuum seal them. But when I started out, I just wanted to, put them in a jar. So I put them in a juice jar, but I want to keep this juice jar, especially because it's square. If jars are square, they're easier to stack up, right, versus rounded. But this one I'm going to save for another day for when I want to make some juice. This one I'm going to, see, I'm switching over this jar into these jars, and then these jars, after I'm all done with the raisins and everything, and I'm ready to vacuum seal, I'm just going to vacuum seal them all, people, and put them downstairs in Auntie Shmei's room, aka storage sewing room, right? See, Shmei has two rooms. She has a room upstairs, even though Amari's in it, that's still Shmei's room. That's what Shmei moved into. She didn't want to give up her room, but she did. And then she went downstairs. She went into the small room first because Auntie Joan and Uncle John were in the bigger room. But because everything was happening around at the same time, Joan went into long-term care. John had to come up. So Shmei... no, actually, Tisha went into the big room first. And Shmei stayed in the small room for 2016. And then didn't move into the... what do you call it? Big room until after Amari was born. Right? Really, she should have been upstairs for the first 6 months to a year, or however long she wanted to be after Amari was born. But that was sabotaged, right? So, if she would have stayed upstairs, things would have been different. But that wasn't the agenda of other people that just want to harm others. So, you can see what I'm doing here. Just push it down. Give it a tap. Sometimes I take these things, do you see? Those are what, skewers? Right, the little skewers. I take my jar and I go like this. And what that does is it breaks up the fiber so that you can get more in your jar. And then when you are, or what do you call it? Opening your jars, and if you find things are stuck, for example, you just take one of these and you're good to go. So always have one of these handy, because you just never know when you might need them. Right? So I'm just showing you how valuable these jars are. Oh yeah. And being that I'm talking about valuable jars, I came across a post the other day. I don't know. I'm looking for something to do with canning, right? And it was talking about in the war years how jars were hard to come by, right? Because it was war, right? There wasn't that many things around, you know? And I guess in those days, I'm assuming it was in the, 40s or whatever it was, right? They didn't have access to jars like we do, but as corporations are cutting back on costs, decreasing the size of the amount of food in the container, in addition to replacing glass with plastics, right? They're phasing out jars. So in another 40, 50 years from now, it's hard to say where that's going. So get your jars on now, right? Because those things might become heirlooms that you'll be passing down to your children, right? Because they just won't be available anymore. And as the economy changes, for that gap that is widening for the poor, right? And, below that income level, which is 80% and below, just some of us have it worse than others, right? So you see, and then you go like this, right? I got a little bit left, so you grab another jar, open it up. I know it all seems mundane, but maybe I might not be as creative with this as I'd like because I don't have the time or whatever. But in the event of a disaster and the economy shuts down and you're standing in the food line for a bag of sugar, a bag of flour, a few pounds of oil, you'll be lucky to get eggs and powdered milk. For a creative woman that knows what she's doing, or even a man for that matter, because I never underestimate men when it comes to cooking, because some of them can be pretty damn good. I already asked my son to help me when I do the meat and the beans, because one, he likes to eat it, but mainly because I'd like him to learn, so that when I'm gone, he can do it for himself, right? And because he doesn't mind cooking, I can see him doing it. He said he would, so this is good, because he has his own style of cooking, and he brings to the table new tastes, right? I'm like, that's good, Mercane. Like, you're turning out to be a pretty damn cook. Where did you learn to make rice from? Well, you, Mom. I said, I don't ever remember making rice the way you do. So, I like your rice more than my rice, right? Not to mention the sauces that he makes, right? To go with his meats and whatever he's, vegetables or whatever he's doing, right? So you see that little bit, right? Do you see how I'm getting it into the jar? Right? This just helps to break it down, right? So you can fit in more. So at some point in the future, some creative woman is going to come across these valuable blackberry seeds and go, that's going to be so good in the meal that I'm going to make tonight. There, got it all in there. Right? And when I'm ready to vacuum seal these, I'll show you, because I've never done it before, right? Hold on a minute.
#period with a T on it. JFK no channel here. So are they having a march?
Moving slow, I can't fly through the house.
And also,
see, one of these things.
And this is
I've never used these before. I ordered it online. It's supposed to be for a wide mouth jar, but it appears to be for this size. Right? Regular. This is I don't know why I got a regular when I ordered a wide, but so we're gonna try that when the time comes. So far we've got I'm still drying a few raisins, so I'll be able to fill up this jar. We've got 1, hold on a minute, 1, 2, 3. See, that's a juice jar. That's a juice jar. So really, technically, I should switch it over to this jar. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to switch my juice jar into this jar, fill up this jar, and see what we have left. So hold on. Okay, so moving along, I think what I'm going to do, people, is I'm going to can rhubarb in these little jars, because if you remember, and a couple of these, right? I've got 3 half pints and then a whole bunch of little quarter pints. And I think the reason that I'm going to do that is because, remember when I was talking about, what do you call it? What is it called? Favorite spot in life. Talking about making rhubarb barbecue sauce. I don't know, for some reason it just draws my attention to wanting to try it on baking it with some meat as a base after the fact, right? Or maybe in a rotisserie or something, you know, something where the juices can just seep right in. So if I can it, the rhubarb in this, when I'm ready to make my barbecue sauce, homemade, and because it's, you know, what is that, a half a cup? Should be enough. And then if I want, I have a cup. A couple of them anyway, because I've already got rhubarb in the house. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm doing this now, right? And then what's going to happen is, because I'm trying to put my big pots away, people. Okay, you know, got to move on with life here, right? So I'm going to do this first, because really canning rhubarb is so simple, right? It's 2 cups of rhubarb to every 1/4 cup sugar. You put it in a pot, you just quickly bring it to a heat. The rhubarb already disintegrates very quickly. You take that, you put them in your hot boiled jars, then you put them back in the canner and you cook them for like 10 minutes and you're done. Seriously, it's that easy. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my potato box that what's been sitting there for a week or 2 now, and just grab up some potatoes, and I'm going to try this one more time in this size jar. Be a little more aware of not breaking the pressure as the canner is cooling down. And what do you call it? Just see what happens, right? And then I can put my pressure canner away. And I can put this away, right? And then I can put this away for a while.
And then you can make ice cream.
And then we can get into making ice cream.
And guess what?
Okay. Oh, God. Stove. I'm turning on stoves. Anyway, I put 2.5 cups of sugar in there. Should have been 2 1/4, but that's okay. Another 1/4 cup of sugar isn't going to be a problem. Some people say, oh, just let it sit for several hours. It will suck out all the water from the blah. Anyway, all you have to do is turn on the heat, and you're going to see how fast this cooks. And you don't want to cook it. You just want to melt it, right? It will melt very quickly, and then you fill up your jars. And because I've got no more than a half pint jar, I'm going to do it after and can it for 10 minutes. Hold on. Okay, so what I'm finding here is rhubarb that you cut at this time of year cooks differently than rhubarb that, oh my God, that you cut in the, because these ones aren't losing their shape too much. They're starting to. Right, so I'm just going to cook it a little more, because that's all I want to do. Right. Take the bigger chunks, put them in the... Here we go. That's just going to be for, what is it called? That barbecue sauce, right? These small ones. That's what I'm doing here. They say ½ inch from the rim because the rhubarb is going to continue. See, I've turned it down. I cooked it no more than like 3-4 minutes. Pushing 5 for this one because, I don't know. Hold on. You can see. And then just take a, just because this is very fibrous. Rhubarb is very fibrous. Right? You know, when you're out shopping about that kind of stuff, just find these things on sale, people, if you can't have them in your yard growing. Right? This is mostly juice, but that's okay. That will be good for, like I said, this is just for barbecue, rhubarb barbecue. That's what I'm going to call it. And then when I want a tangy taste to my barbecue, you know, I'm just going to grab one of those and throw it in. And I'll make it then versus making it now and canning it that way because I don't have a lot of time. After this now I'm going to get into those potatoes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel them and I'm going to let them sit in water for a while so that the, what do you call it, the starch can leach out. Right? You don't want that many bubbles. Try and get rid of them if you can. Just break them off or scoop them out, whatever. Right. Don't forget to wipe your rims. Clean cloth, hold on. Okay, and just so, you know, for the ones that don't know, right, when you screw it on, take your fingers, just finger tight. You don't, okay, because then the air can escape and your jar can crack in the canning process. Don't get all panicky though if you get a cracked jar. It happens sometimes, right? When Shimei and I were doing those pickles together, one jar cracked because I guess she tightened it too tight. And she got, oh, and I like, don't worry about it. It happens. Sometimes they crack in canners and pressure canners, and sometimes they crack in water canners. It's just part and parcel of the business, right? You know, that's what makes life interesting. Right? So now after this, what I'm going to do, once these start boiling, I'm only doing it for 10 minutes. Okay, if it was a pint, I'd do it for 15, but it doesn't need a pint. Right? I mean, it doesn't need 15 minutes. But if you want to do 15, it's not gonna harm anything. Right? This is, oh, this tastes so good, people. So good. So then I'm going to take you out and I'm going to show you that warrior tree and my tomatoes that are growing in the back. It's what? Where are we in? September? Going into the middle of the month. And I've got tomatoes out there. Trying to ripen on the vine. Right? So I thought I'd show you that. Right? Okay. Just hold on a minute. And then once it starts boiling, in this case, you can put the lid on and then turn it to 8 so it's not shh, right? As long as the lid is on, and then give it a good 10 minutes, turn off your heat, leave your lid on, let it rest for 5 or 10 minutes, then take your jars out after you take off your lid. Okay, well, it's kind of raining right now, but whatever. Some of these beautiful tomatoes. I love these tomatoes, man. Look at them. Where are they? Do you see? Look how nice they are. Look at them. They're huge. I'm going to cover up the camera. We got a few more in here. You see? This is what I want to show you. Look at this tree. Look at it. Look what it's done, people. Oh, warrior tree. These guys took, but for some reason they died over there. Hold on. I just remembered I gotta go out there and feed the birds because they're hovering around a empty bird feeder. Because when I was getting up on that little roof for that little shed that I made years ago, which I haven't covered up yet, I took away their bird feeders because they get bird seed everywhere. But the weather is changing now, so there's seeds in my yard. They go from my plants, from plant to plant to plant. I see them all the time. But I'm gonna go get them some food. Okay, so this is just what I kind of want to show you what I have to deal with. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, pools up all over the place, people. There's a dripping, look at that. Just pouring. Just pouring. I don't know how my landlady expects me to fix this. Look at this fucking pouring here. Oh my god. Look, just pouring on. Well, that's okay. And then when it gets like that, sometimes yeah. I'm all fucking nervous, man. When it backdrafts, it's the problem. It starts to leak in there because of this shit, right? And then the kids, they walk through this, and they bring this shit into my house. Look at this. See? I have to fix this, people, because winter is long. You know? When it gets real crazy, like this is crazy, man. Fucking crazy. But what you gonna do? Look at this one. Now hasn't that gotten worse? Like these gutters need to be repaired. Look at it. Look at this. Like what the hell is that? Do you see that? It's like that in the front too. Hold on. This is my front, people. Do you see this? I don't know how I'm supposed to fix this. I have no fucking clue. I bought a ladder, but I don't know how to fix that, people. I'm not a gutter person. But it needs to be done because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, what is the point of having a gutter if it doesn't work? Look, it's leaking right here. Pretty soon it's gonna be like pouring down like that. This is why she wants to sell the house, people. Hold on a minute. This is why she wants to sell the house. Right? Because, you know, it costs money to fix this stuff. But you have to remember, I've been living here 10 years, people, and never once has the gutters ever been repaired. She changed the roof, what, 3-4 years ago, whatever it was. Not my fault that the roof needed to change. But, you know, the only thing that they did was just scoop out the leaves from the gutter, but they never fucking repaired the gutters. I mean, it's getting worse and worse. There's the ladder, people. I bought the ladder, okay? Right? I will try and do what I can, at least for in here, because what happens is the kids, they walk, right? And then they just walk on in. And then this is what happens. Do you see? I already cleaned it in there. But it's like, I don't know. God forbid if they break a fucking pipe as they're digging up the road to replace pipes. Right. Sometimes it comes all the way in here, and if that thing gets clogged back there, it starts leaking up from something in the basement. God. See? This is why I want to get on with this, what do you call it? Front yard with the pond and this bricklaying, because I got cement here that I can't afford to lose, people, because I don't got money to be buying new bags of cement. I was going to try and get on with it this week. So God forbid if the water just keeps pouring. So I'm going to try and move that before the end of the day in case it's pissing like this at night, because the water can... Oh my God, man. Okay, so I'm trying really hard not to get upset here, people. Okay, I go through this shit every year. And those gutters are just getting worse and worse, and it's spreading through the whole thing. Front and back. I mean, pretty soon, I'm going to have a waterfall that's just going to go over the house, front and back. Just this main old waterfall. When this stuff happens, it I don't want to say confirm, but it makes me feel that my landlady and my landlords are trying to force me out, people. Right? Because they buy these properties to make money. That's all. That's all they're for. That's what people are doing in BC. Houses are not being bought for homes anymore. Right? Unless, of course, they're building monster homes that they're putting 25 to 50 people in one house from one family. Then I guess it makes sense. Or they're renting out their, 800 square feet for $2,000 a month, right? And they've got like 5 suites in one of those monsters' house at $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So they're pulling in 15 grand just from their tenants in one fucking monster house. Right? While houses like mine are just being flipped like pancakes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between the rich fucking wigs in the freaking province that many of them don't even fucking live here.
And anybody that has any doubts, like I said, I'm not asking you to change your mind, to change your feelings.
Like that shit that's going on 132A over there, right? With those 10 to 15 houses selling up and down the street like clockwork every 3 to 5 times a year, each house, which is illegal, people. But nobody's doing anything about it because people like my landlady, why should she care? Because at the end of the day, as those houses' properties go up, by them going up, forces hers to go up. So she's just making more money doing nothing. Nothing until she's ready to sell. Right? Every fucking year I worry about this shit because the outside there by that pipe, everything just backs up. I told my son yesterday, I've got 2 bags of cement in the garage. I'm working on the pond. I'm using up my cement that I should have used up months and months and months and months and months ago, but I haven't used it yet. Obviously, I need more than 2 bags, but that's all I bought at the time. I already told Andre that we're going to be making a little brick wall and doing whatever. And that's assuming that it doesn't piss like that tonight. And the water backs up and I get up in the morning and the cement's all wet. Had that happen before. You see, I bought the ladder. I bought the ladder, people, but I can't go find somebody that's going to go fix those gutters for $25. The guy that's supposed to come and do the fucking cupboards downstairs and the pipe and all that shit, haven't heard from him. I'm talking.
Take a bath.
You gonna go take a bath?
Yeah. Look.
Okay, you're all wet now.
Yeah.
Thank you for bailing that out.
You're welcome.
Okay, go have your bath. I'm mad.
Now just call me wet, Andre.
I'm telling you people, I have nowhere to go.